The Knights Templar, Skull and Bones, the Freemasons. For centuries, the world has been captivated by the alluring mystery of secret societies. But of them all, there is one that's said to be the most powerful. A sinister organization that's controlling the world from the shadows, the Illuminati. Any sane person should know that that's a whole load of crap. But when it comes to the world of Marvel Comics, the Illuminati is a very real group that consists of some of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. These are the world's best and brightest, and they've taken it upon themselves to try and stop major conflicts before they really even have a chance to start. And pretty much every time they've tried it, it's blown up right in their faces. Hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books and my name is Drake. Let's talk about it. Now, you might have noticed that one of the members of the Illuminati is Professor X, and he's rather bald. So if you want to try to prevent yourself from looking like him, then maybe consider the sponsor of today's video, Keeps. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they turn 35, and thankfully, that's where Keeps comes in. They're a subscription service that makes it easy and affordable to treat male pattern baldness, with generic versions of FDA-approved medications for hair loss. Every 3 months, you'll get the right treatment for you mailed directly to your door from a real licensed doctor. And since all of the appointments are handled completely over the internet, there's 0 reasons for boring doctor visits or pharmacy pickups. Plus, if you need to ask your doctor any questions or raise any concerns in between, then you can message them 24/7 and also track your progress by using their handy tracking tool. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, then go to keeps.com/comicdrake or click the link in the description down below to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/comicdrake. Thank you very much, Keeps, but now let's get back to the video. Marvel's Illuminati made their first appearance in New Avengers number 7 in 2005, when it was created by Brian Michael Bendis and Steve McNiven. The issue opens up with Iron Man visiting one of his failed businesses, meeting up with a group of some of the most important figures in the superhero community. Doctor Strange, Professor Xavier, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, and Namor the Submariner. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be anything noteworthy. I mean, superheroes hang out all the time, so outside of this gathering taking place in an obviously secret location, there's nothing really suspicious going on. Stark tells the gang about an interesting situation that the Avengers had gotten themselves into. See, they had discovered a guy in prison named Bob Reynolds, aka the Sentry. He is a superhero of incredible strength, and he voluntarily had himself locked up for murdering his wife. The only problem, though, is that said wife was still alive and well, and nobody seemed to remember that the Sentry had ever existed, including Bob himself. Of course, nobody in this gathering had any idea what Tony was talking about, but Reed Richards decided to humor him anyway, and searched his database for any record of this supposed Sentry. And to his surprise, over 1,200 results popped up. Professor X immediately jumped into action and offered a thorough brain scan to uncover Reed's suppressed memories. Deep within the recesses of Richard's mind lied the truth. The Sentry was once one of the most well-respected and beloved superheroes of all time, but something sinister lurked beneath the surface, a monstrous alter ego called the Void. In order to keep his power in check, Bob worked with Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange to wipe the memory of his existence from the world. But now that he was discovered, Bob's memories were starting to bubble to the surface, and he was once again at risk of releasing the Void. The hero swiftly got in contact with the rest of the superhero community in order to contain Bob, with Emma Frost diving deep into his subconscious to sort his mind back in order, which would in theory keep the Void in check. This effort was successful, and the Sentry was placed into the care of the Avengers, which is all well and good, but many readers were left with a burning question. What was with this secret meeting? And why was everyone involved just so casual about it? The answer would come just a few months later with the release of a book called New Avengers Illuminati, which went into great detail about the group's origin. Decades ago, there was a massive war between the Kree and Skrull empires, and during the aftermath, Tony Stark called the hero seen in the previous story to Wakanda, in addition to the Black Panther since he's, the leader of the damn country. In order to prevent something as massive as the Kree-Skrull War from ever happening again, Stark pitched the idea of pooling the resources and handling attacks in a more organized manner, by uniting every corner of the superhero community into a single organization. Everyone hated the idea. Who would run it? Who would they answer to? Would they just get tied up in bureaucracy and never get anything done? Those are all valid concerns. Though Mr. Fantastic piped up and commented that while a huge delegation wouldn't be practical, there was definitely potential in secret meetings just like this one, where these pillars of the superhero community could come together to exchange information and take matters into their own hands on some of the bigger issues, oftentimes before they could balloon into bigger problems. Although these get-togethers and what goes on inside of them would have to be a secret to everybody. No teammates, no best friends, no family. And to ensure that nobody leaked information, the members would have to consent to Professor X scanning their minds. Black Panther was disgusted. Yes, they were leaders. Hell, almost half of them were literally kings. But putting themselves above others and deciding how to handle global affairs from the shadows, he wanted no part of it. Everyone else, though, was on board, and they officially became the Illuminati. Over the decades, this group worked behind the scenes in the Marvel Universe, secretly pulling the strings. And although we aren't shown every single time that these guys met up over the years, I have compiled a complete rundown of what we do know. So basically, as soon as the team was formed, they decided to journey directly to the Skrull homeworld to flex their muscles and intimidate them into never going near the Earth again. This backfired horrendously, as they were captured, tortured, and experimented on. Thankfully, the Skrulls underestimated Tony Stark, thinking that he wasn't much of a threat without his armor. But thanks to some combat training from Captain America, Tony was able to take down his guards and rescue the others, allowing them to hijack a ship and escape, destroying a large portion of the Skrulls' fleet in their wake. Though this only increased the Skrulls' hatred for humanity. But unbeknownst to the Illuminati, the experiments that were done on them yielded some very valuable data. More on that later. After that, the team made a very brief appearance in Los Angeles to fight a villainous organization called the Pride, which was then followed up by the whole Sentry situation that I mentioned at the top of the video. But then, we got a crazy important meetup. You see, She-Hulk had gotten her hands on an Infinity Gem, and she gave it to Mr. Fantastic for safekeeping. But having this object of immense power in his possession ignited an all-out obsession, leading to him hunting down and obtaining 2 more of the gems and the Infinity Gauntlet. Quick side note. If you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, then you might be typing out actually they're called the Infinity Stones, not the Infinity Gems. It's stupidly complicated, but in the comics, they are in fact referred to as gems, and the color of them is also different than the ones that made it to the big screen. Now, they did end up getting renamed and recolored to match the movies, but how that happened is its own can of worms, which I did cover in greater detail in a dedicated video about the stones. I just wanted to clear that up before there was any more confusion about what I'm referring to. Anyway, fearing that the completed Infinity Gauntlet would once again fall into the wrong hands, Richard tasked the Illuminati with gathering the remaining gems, which they're able to quickly do thanks to the power of montage. No, I'm being completely serious. In just a few pages, these guys are able to pull off some truly ludicrous feats, like journeying into the universal collective unconscious to find the mind gem, and building a machine capable of tearing the fabric of reality to extract the reality gem. But then of course the writers didn't want to jump the shark too much, so they made it to where simply bringing the 5 gems together would summon the time gem, thus completing the set. With the completed Infinity Gauntlet now assembled, Richards nearly succumbed to the allure of infinite power. But he overcame the urge and tried to use the gauntlet to will the gems out of existence. But the whole bit of
"I used the stones to destroy the stones"
is something that's impossible in the Marvel Comics universe. So when that didn't work, Reed entrusted 1 gem to each member of his team to protect. Just a few months later, Professor X felt the presence of the Beyonder, a cosmic entity that once created his own planet and kidnapped a bunch of heroes and villains from Earth to fight for his curiosity and amusement. The Illuminati took preventative action by essentially telling him to fuck off, which hurt his feelings so bad that he turned to dust. Yeah. Next, the heroes met up with a member of the Creed that declared war on Earth and gave him a stern talking to, which made him reconsider being a bad guy. Dude, if being savage is this effective, then why would they even bother holding onto the Infinity Stones in the first place? But now that quick stuff is out of the way, and we can finally talk about the real reason the team was created: Civil War. After a group of young heroes accidentally caused an explosion that killed over 600 people, a law was drafted that would require all superpowered individuals in the United States to register with the government. Stark was slipped an early copy of the bill, which he brought before the Illuminati, explaining that it will come to pass, and when it does, they need to enthusiastically stand behind it, or else the fallout within the superhero community would be catastrophic. Predictably though, not everybody agreed with Tony, which led to massive tension within the group, and Doctor Strange chose to stay out of the conflict entirely because, let's be real, whatever side of the superhuman civil war that had him would basically be guaranteed an automatic victory. But you know what other character would do the same thing? The Incredible Hulk. So where was he during all the fighting? Much like how the writers used the group as an excuse to take Doctor Strange off the board before Civil War, the Hulk got a similar treatment, as a couple of months before Tony brought the bill before the team, they had decided to finally put an end to the Jolly Green Giant's ultimate destruction. No cure, either scientific or mystical, had worked in the past, and it's not like Bruce wanted to keep the Hulk around, as when Professor X looked inside of Banner's mind, his inner thoughts revealed that if he could have killed himself, he would have done it a long time ago. At Stark's suggestion, they blasted the Hulk into space, aiming to land him on a deserted planet, finally giving him the one thing that he's ever truly wanted: solitude. But of course, this is comics we're talking about, so naturally something went wrong with the ship, and instead of landing on an empty world, the Hulk instead crash-landed on the war-torn planet of Sakaar, and went through hell over there. The Hulk became a revolutionary icon called the Green Scar, and helped overthrow the planet's dictatorship, ultimately becoming its new leader. However, devotees of the Old King snuck onto the Hulk's crash-landed ship and tampered with it, causing the ship to explode and kill most everyone around it, including the Hulk's queen and unborn child. Because of a misunderstanding, the Hulk was convinced that this was the Illuminati's plan all along, not to give him peace and isolation, but to just straight up murder him. Angrier than ever before, Hulk rallied his warbound and went back to Earth for revenge, forcing the organization to put aside their fallout from the Civil War and gather once again to stop their former friend. But not even a year later, Earth would suffer yet another invasion. So remember how earlier in the video I mentioned that these guys were captured and experimented on when they went to go intimidate the Skrulls? Yeah, well, for years after that, these dudes have been kidnapping superheroes and replacing them by utilizing their shape-shifting powers. And by using the information extracted from the Illuminati, these secret invaders were able to get by every kind of identification technique. Even Black Bolt got replaced. That means that he was able to get past Professor X's mind scans, and he spied on the Illuminati from the inside. For how long? We don't exactly know. Although the Skrulls were eventually defeated, the Illuminati was shattered, and most of its members were dealing with their own more important personal stuff. But they reformed when a villain named the Hood started going around and stole their Infinity Gems. Iron Man ditched the Avengers to try and get a handle on the situation, but Captain America, noting just how shady Stark was acting, had the team follow him to the secret meeting, finally exposing the group's existence. Well, I mean, the Hulk had already told the world the Illuminati existed when they invaded the Earth, but Steve basically forced Tony's hand into admitting they had been meeting in secret ever since the Kree-Skrull War all those years ago. The combined forces of the Avengers and the Illuminati were enough to strip the Hood of the Infinity Gems and defeat him, culminating with Iron Man assembling the Infinity Gauntlet and pretending to wish it away, which we all know wouldn't work since they had literally tried that once before. In reality, Tony had just teleported the gems to a secret location, where the crew met back up and divided them amongst themselves again. But this time, a new member joined their ranks: Captain America. As an official part of the squad, it was Steve who called up the next meeting during the Avengers vs. X-Men event, hoping to talk sense into Namor, who had just been superpowered by the Phoenix Force. That didn't work out though, and Namor used his newfound power to drown the capital city of Wakanda, followed by his teammate Cyclops straight up killing Professor X. That incredibly bleak note brings us to the longest and most important storyline that the Illuminati ever participated in. Buckle up, because this one is about to get really complicated really fast. The entire multiverse was on the path of destruction because of events called Incursions. Essentially, parallel Earths would suddenly exist within the same space, and in only a matter of hours, they would collide, causing both universes to be obliterated entirely. The only solution would be to destroy one of the two Earths, which would save one planet and both of the universes. Black Panther witnessed this event firsthand when an incursion appeared above Wakanda, and a woman leapt off the looming planet only to blow it up behind her. After subduing the culprit, T'Challa assembled the Illuminati, which included Namor, the guy responsible for the mass murder of his people by flooding his nation's capital city. Though he put that aside for the greater good, and the group interrogated the prisoner and came up with a rather simple plan. Since they already had the Infinity Gauntlet, they should just take
the Earth and push it somewhere else!
Before his death, Professor X entrusted Beast with the location of his gem, and he was thus brought into the fold, where he helped create devices for each of the members to implant in their palms, which would serve as early warning devices for the impending incursions. When the moment arrived, Captain America wielded the gauntlet, and successfully used all of its might to push the incursion back. But at an immense cost. The Infinity Gems shattered, and the team was back to square one. Without even the slightest lead on new solutions, it became clear that unless they found another way out, they would have to be prepared to do the unthinkable and destroy other worlds. But Captain America refused to give up hope. Though worried that he might stand in their way if annihilation was the only answer, the Illuminati ejected Steve from the group, complete with a mind wipe from Doctor Strange. The scientists of the team quickly got to work building doomsday bombs, but luckily for them, every incursion that came their way brought them in contact with either dead or dying worlds, so eliminating them wasn't really a big problem. But when a villain called the Orb used an object to reveal hidden secrets within multiple heroes, Captain America's stolen memories of his time in the Illuminati returned. Steve exposed the team's existence to the rest of the superhero community, along with their intention of killing planets, forcing them to work in, even more secret, and split their efforts between solving the incursions and running away from their friends. The team simply needed more help, so to bolster both their brains and brawn, Dr. Bruce Banner was brought on board, and just in time too, because the next incursion was going to be their biggest challenge yet. This world was guarded by a super team called the Great Society, a clear stand-in for the Justice League, contrasting just how far the Marvel heroes had fallen in the name of saving their universe. See, although DC Comics has a reputation of being dark and edgy because of Batman and, well, Batman, the DC Universe has always been one that revolves around hope. Regardless of what Zack Snyder says, the big DC heroes are almost always paragons, and they don't give up easily when it comes to finding peaceful solutions. That's why the Great Society met with the Illuminati when their universes aligned. They want to work together in the name of peace. But Black Panther decided that in order to do so, all of their cards needed to be on the table, and he revealed that his team had a bomb capable of destroying a planet. That obviously caught the Society off guard and created instant tension between the two groups. So instead of wanting to wait around for the inevitable fight to break out, Namor struck first. The difference between Marvel and DC heroes can be summed up in one sentence. Marvel heroes are men trying to be gods, and DC heroes are gods trying to be men. So when it comes to raw strength, the Great Society far outclassed the Illuminati and wiped the floor with them, and they could only be stopped by Doctor Strange giving up his humanity in order to channel an absurdly powerful dark entity. Luckily for his allies, Strange was focusing all of his power and attention on the distinguished competition, which left an opening for his teammates to knock him out before he killed them as well. When the dust settled, the heroes set their bomb, but this time, things were different. This Earth wasn't dead, or even dying. This was a fully populated planet, and someone was going to have to pull the trigger. No one stepped up to the plate, but once again, Namor was tired of waiting for the inevitable, so he took matters into his own hands, grabbing the detonator and obliterating the world above them. The rest looked on in horror. They knew this was going to happen one day, but no one was prepared for the reality of the situation. On top of that, Namor used this as an opportunity to tell Black Panther that when Thanos invaded Earth a few months back, he told them to go after Wakanda instead of Atlantis, leading to even more death and destruction of his people while they were still rebuilding after Namor's last attack. So obviously they kicked him out, but Namor went back to their base, freed all of their prisoners, and united them into a group called the Cabal in order to step up and keep destroying planets, since the Illuminati didn't have the stomach for it. What then follows is an 8-month time skip, and a ton of stuff changed in the Marvel Universe. Here's the cliff notes, so try to stay with me. Iron Man's morality got inverted because of an event called Axis, and he was taken prisoner by the Cabal. The Hulk evolved, merging all of his strength and intelligence into one super being that now goes by Doc Green. Doctor Strange left both the team and conventional reality itself to try and find a solution to the incursions through magic. In the Doctor's absence, 3 new members were brought on board: Boy Genius Amadeus Cho, Captain Britain, and Hank Pym, aka Yellow Jacket, the latter of whom was sent on a recon mission to the farthest depths of the multiverse to try and find the source of the incursions. S.H.I.E.L.D. took over the Avengers, and under the leadership of Steve Rogers, their sole mission was to hunt down the Illuminati and bring them to justice, something that made many of its members extremely uncomfortable, causing them to break away and form their own team, Avengers Idea Mechanics. Wondering why Steve is so old here? Well, that's because he got drained of his super soldier serum and he passed the mantle of Captain America to Sam Wilson. Okay, I know that was a lot, so quick recap. At this point, there are 3 heroic factions that are all fighting with each other. The Illuminati is trying to stop the Incursions, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Avengers want them to be brought to justice, and AIM just wants everybody to get along and work together. Meanwhile, the Cabal went to the United Nations and revealed the Incursions to the world, managing to convince the world's leaders to look the other way while they eliminated planets. After all, even though they've been killing billions of innocents, the Cabal was the only group that was really getting results and saving the planet. I mean, the Illuminati tried to use an object called a cosmic cube to create a new world that they could move humanity to, thus allowing them to blow up their Earth with 0 casualties, but they lost the cube in the process. Reed tried to harness his son's seemingly endless powers to create a pocket dimension that they could move the Earth into, but that didn't work either. They even tried enlisting the help of the Celestials, but these godlike beings straight up vanished. With the blessing of the world's leaders, the Cabal faced minimal opposition and relished the destruction of worlds. They wouldn't just cleanly detonate their bombs. These dudes inflicted misery and chaos, torturing and tormenting each planet's inhabitants until they begged for death, a display that disgusted Namor to his very core, causing him to betray the group and work with his former teammates once again behind his new team's back. But T'Challa could never forget the atrocities that Namor inflicted upon his people time after time. So during a plan to trap the Cabal on a dead Incursion planet and blow them up with it, T'Challa and Black Bolt teamed up to leave Namor stranded there as well, letting him die with the scum and villainy that he had once called allies. At this point, Yellow Jacket returned from his journey across the multiverse, revealing that he had discovered a race of cosmic beings called the Beyonders, who were hellbent on eliminating all of existence. And because of separate forces working behind the scenes, the number of universes left in the multiverse dropped from hundreds of thousands to less than 24 in the blink of an eye. Even universes that were previously saved by killing Earths got wiped out. So all of this has kind of been for naught. Although they possessed great powers, the heroes were just mere mortals, and the Beyonders were, well, beyond being stopped. So instead of trying to win and beat the Incursions, the 3 heroic factions finally started to work together to simply not lose. The best they could come up with was to build a life raft that would be able to survive the impending Incursions and save the human species by selecting just a few humans that were able to rebuild society if anything was actually on the other side of the collapsing multiverse. In the end, only 2 universes remained: the mainstream Marvel Comics universe, Earth 616, and the Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610. But at the end of the day, the worlds collided and the multiverse was destroyed. What follows is the 2015 event Secret Wars, an epic tale that ends with the recreation of the multiverse. It's a good book and you should totally read it, but since the final Incursion also marked the end of the Illuminati as we know them today, I'm obviously not going to cover it in this video. Now, there was a new Illuminati group led by the Hood that emerged after the multiverse was reconstructed, but that was just a short-lived villain team that only lasted for 7 issues. It wasn't interesting and reeked of Marvel just trying to coast off of the name appeal. As far as we know, the Illuminati never reformed after Secret Wars. But that's the thing, isn't it? Who's to say that they're not still meeting in the shadows? See, that's why I really like this concept. We as readers never really quite know if they're gone for good and if they'll show up again. But if they do, I bet it'll be pretty hype. Hey, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy deep dives like these, then maybe consider subscribing, because I have a ton of fun content in the works. And if you're looking for something else to watch, then maybe consider checking out my video on the many superhero and villain personas that Hawkeye has taken up over the years, including Captain America. It's a fascinating video that didn't get many views, so I'd appreciate it if you at least gave it a shot. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.